Yeah. So Vaughn, I have now I'm looking at Zoom and I have those two items, down below on my taskbar. I can get them. Now what?
Well, if you're in Zoom
Yeah.
and in the middle of the bottom of your Zoom screen, it says share.
Yes. Click on that.
Click on that, and then you should see a sort of a grid of the things that
Yeah.
you have open.
Yes. I
So,
see that.
so click on the one you want to share, and then click on share.
Okay. Let's practice.
Okay.
Where did Zoom go?
Well, I see your PowerPoint, but it's not running. You just have it open. If you
Yeah,
go,
I'll run it.
okay, so we see it. That's all we see right now
Okay. I don't see it, but
because you have it on a different screen.
okay.
If you go
So
if you go up to the top right hand corner of your Zoom screen,
my
it
Zoom screen,
it,
all I have is this gallery thing over here.
yeah, so you don't want gallery where it says gallery, click on it and either show side by side or standard.
Um, so all I see, hi, Steele.
Evening, everybody.
Yeah, we'll talk to you in a minute. I'm figuring out my technology.
Oh,
So Vaughn, on my screen is my PowerPoint, and then I have these four gallery people on the right.
Yeah, what
That's
more do
all.
you want? What more do you want?
Well, I can't see the PowerPoint on Zoom. Is that all right?
It's all we see.
Okay.
That's what we see, is what you see. We see a PowerPoint in the middle with pages 1 through 6 on the left-hand side, and then all of your PowerPoint tools
Yeah.
and commands. That's what we're seeing. And if you want to show us the PowerPoint,
Yeah.
uh, you can
That's
just
what
play it. However it is you're used to doing that.
well, I'm used to like going to a different view
Yeah.
like that.
Well, no, that's not what you want to do. You
Okay.
just um,
Um,
you just created a whole new master slide. Just go back to normal. Eh, Click up at the top left of that toolbar, click normal. Yeah,
Nothing I know is normal. Um, normal.
yeah,
Yeah, there's
yeah.
normal. Okay.
Okay, there we go. Now, it's at the bottom of every PowerPoint program. If you'll go to the very bottom bar, there's something that looks like a little projector screen on a stand.
Yeah.
Click on that.
Okay.
And then we're actually seeing your
Slides.
we're seeing we're seeing it as you. Um, I think we could deal with this.
Okay. So like, for example, there's my second slide.
Yeah,
Okay. Now I'm going to go back. There's my first slide.
yeah.
That's good.
We're actually seeing the presenter view right here.
All I see is the slides now.
Yeah, I know. You're seeing what we should be seeing. Um, um, Give me just a moment. Let's see if I can take over your.
Take me over. Steele and Matt, thank you for showing up early.
Well, sure.
And I'm not sure who else is coming. I expect Stephanie and I expect Vicky late. And that's, and others maybe.
Yeah,
Vaughn, how are we doing?
Well, we're seeing what would be your control view. Um,
With the 16 slides down the left-hand side?
no, we see as like a presenter view.
Okay, well, that's good, isn't it?
Well, we see your slide and the next slide. I think it's good. I think it'll work.
Okay.
Okay.
I have my gallery over my little
Okay.
second slide.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it
so,
looks good. I think it looks good for us, at least for me.
Yeah.
okay. All right, well, so how do I like put that to rest right now while
You can I can make it stop. I'm gonna stop your sharing.
okay, and then I'm gonna say, Vaughn, start the PowerPoint. Okay,
Okay, so you're no longer sharing with us.
I'm sorry.
You're no longer sharing your
Oh,
power.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and Vaughn, can you go find the video maybe?
Let me keep looking. Do you remember what it was called?
Um, Much more than Sunday.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we'll wait a few more minutes. Matt, are you out on the water?
Yes, I'm actually in San Francisco, so we're next to a dock. North of San Francisco, and been here for a couple days, and leaving tomorrow morning. And luckily, the schedule looks good, so I can make this meeting. Hopefully, if nothing comes up. So, looking forward to it. And thanks for having us, and thanks for
Yeah.
making it happen.
Okay. Steele, how are you doing?
very well, very well. And you?
Good. Steele,
Wonderful.
I don't know if I introduced you to Vaughn Vigil, who is um, also a deacon, and he's also my technological savior.
Hi, Juan.
And he's looking for something for me, so we'll let him do that.
Yeah.
Um,
That video, the diocese has made that video private and unavailable.
well, that's not fair. I
Because
should
of the, it's because of the deacon dance.
oh,
Maybe.
okay. They caught me
I'm
doing
hoping
the
you'll be able
deacon
to
dance.
show us the deacon dance, maybe the next EBM.
Sure, that'd be good.
Okay. So, did you all take the bait and go to look at those
Sure.
videos I sent you?
Yes, I only got one of
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
You only got one, Steele?
Yeah, there was another one that wanted me to, I think it was through Snapchat or something like that. I didn't have that. So I saw the one where you're doing the renewal vows.
Oh, okay.
Yep, and I did too. I'm the same as Steele. I didn't get to the second one, but I did watch your sermon. It was great. I took 3 or 4 pages of notes, so very,
Okay.
very positive.
All right.
Okay, I do have the video, by the way.
Oh, Vaughn, you see, you are my savior.
I have it on a backup.
Well, so we'll be able to see that, right?
Yes,
And then will you save it for posterity?
yes.
Okay, because we'll want it again someday. Okay,
Hi, Elizabeth.
is Elizabeth here?
She's here.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, Elizabeth. Hello.
Oh, and Lindsay's there too.
Is Elizabeth with us?
Yes, I think she is. Yep,
I
she
don't
is.
see her picture, but that's all right.
He's right in the middle.
Okay, I can only see 4 pictures. I'm sure I can see more if I figured out how, right?
Hi, Jane. I'm here.
Oh, hi, Elizabeth. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
And
Thank you.
Jeff is here.
And
Oh,
Jeff.
good.
Hi,
Hey,
Jeff.
Dawn, how can I see everybody?
You have to
Um,
change the settings on your settings so that you can see gallery view.
So Vaughn, all that what I have on my screen is the PowerPoint. And down at the bottom, oh, wait a minute, here's some more things. Settings, huh? Show meeting, how about that? Yeah, there it is. Hi, Jeff. Oh, hi, Lindsay.
Hi.
Look, the gang's all here. This is great. Very good. And I also, I think maybe Stephanie is coming. And I don't know if I mentioned anyone else or. Okay, well, I'm so glad to see you. So Jeff and Lindsay and Elizabeth, I had previously introduced Vaughn Vigil, who you see there. Vaughn is a deacon, and actually Vaughn's going to come to our EBM group in May, so you'll get
Okay.
even more Vaughn. And he helps me with technology. And Vaughn and I have been friends for a very long time. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I thought that I'd just start with kind of a framework about the church and about the possibility of ordination and why ordination, why you know why the church has ordained ministers. So this is going to be very brief and sketchy, but I think that everyone who's in EBM is wrestling with some kind of call or something that is changing or emerging, and that part of that is a maybe ordination kind of thing. Now, Vaughn and I might be saying, "Oh God, why would you ever want to do that?" What do you think, Vaughn?
um, I don't think I would say ever, but I have thought, why did I do it?
Yeah,
But the answer comes pretty quickly.
yeah. Um, but the point that I'm making is that it's a lot. Oh, here comes
It
Vicky.
is. Yes, yes, it is a lot.
Good.
Hi,
Hi.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm so sorry I'm late. I was at low mass and it was
Oh,
a
there you are. Good. Good to have you. We're just getting started.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, I think that it's important to start with what is the mission of the church, and who are ordained people and why does the church have them? When we understand the mission of the church, I think it's really important to understand that it is an institution. And so anyone who is thinking that they would want to be ordained, it means being connected, being linked in a permanent way to this institution, the church. If you ask me why, what is the mission of the church or why does the church exist? I think it's this one thing, but I'm going to say it in two phrases. One is to glorify God, and one is to bring the kingdom. And essentially bringing the kingdom is the ultimate glorification, right? Well, that's what I think. So, part of what the church does is it attracts and feeds members. Well, let me go back to about bringing the kingdom. So God created this good world. You know, in God's creation, the currency is love. But as we know, the world is evil, toxic, unjust. And the currency in the world sometimes, lots of times, is wealth and power. So we understand the currency in the kingdom of God is love, and that's what God created. And the world has great potential for good, and God's call to us is to restore the kingdom of God. So I like this line from Michael Curry that says Jesus founded a movement to change the world from the nightmare it often is into the dream that God intends by following the loving, liberating, life-giving way of Jesus Christ. So, you know, I think a lot of what we talk about or what we think about in terms of the church, you know, we think about the setting, and we talk about the liturgy and the sacraments and the music and all these very attractive things that have to do with glorifying God. But when we get right down to it, you know, if that's not changing, or if that's not bringing the kingdom, you know, that's not enough. So, you know, Verna Dozier told us that we need to go back to our deepest roots as disciples of Jesus Christ. As we remember her, you know, it was a lot of stuff in that book, but the one clear takeaway for me is the church's big flaw is that it emphasizes worshiping Jesus instead of following Jesus. So, you know, I think that from my point of view, it's important to kind of lay that all out and to say, you know, what I think we need to be about is bringing the kingdom. And I think that is the focus of the diaconate. So, you know, we have all these lovely things in the institutional church, and, you know, some are lovely, some are hard. You know, there's the laws of the church and the requirements of the church and all that stuff, as well as the nice sacraments and the nice buildings and the nice music. But that's all inside the church. Okay, you know, here's the container of the church, which is where ordained people are connected to. But bringing the kingdom, you know, restoring the kingdom is outside the walls of the church. You know, we're not going to change the world, the toxic world, by going to church, right? And so, you know, that's the going out part is what we're going to talk about as far as deacons go. So, but the ordained are agents of the church. They're agents of this institution. And this institution is always struggling between fortifying the church, clericalism, the building blocks of the institution and so forth, the worship of Jesus, struggle between the institutional church and the restoration of the kingdom of God, following Jesus, as Verna Dozier would say, following the dream of God. So we're always struggling with that. And if we are ordained people, that's what we're connected to, is that struggle. And I think now is a really good time, that we are realizing this struggle. Things are happening in the world. We now have a new bishop. We now have, we have shrinking resources in the church, and fewer people and fewer resources. So I kind of paint this chaotic picture in order to say, this is the church into which you may be called. Um, you know, it's not just good hymns on Sunday. And I just think it's really important to know that if you become a clergy person, you become an agent of this institution. Vaughn, you're nodding your head. You want to say something?
I just think that I've always thought, for me, the church, with all of its flaws and um, bureaucracy and tricks and um, the polyester, I mean, it can get really hot in the summer, is still the best way that God has given me to share his love and to help do my little part to bring the kingdom of
Yeah.
God to the world.
Yeah.
It's a system. It's a flawed system,
Yeah.
but it's the best way that God has given me to be a tool in that system.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, it's not perfect, but hey, God gives me the grace and the strength and the tools to work within it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the church is an effective organization to a large extent. Um, so you're in EBM, and you have this choice before you, whether you want to continue in DOV to do more discerning and to end up in DOV is for people who want to be ordained and want to get in that track now. Okay. So some people may end EBM and say, I don't think ordination is for me. Or they might say, not now, maybe later. But that's kind of the decision-making matrix that you're in now. So now I want to talk about being a deacon, because before you want to sign up to be a deacon or to go on that track, you have to understand what it is and kind of get into it. Did any of you get to watch those videos or those whatever I sent you, those links? I know Matt and Steele, you said that you watched the sermon one. Did any of you get in the other one, which was an interview?
Not yet, Jane. No.
Okay. And that's fine. I was just going to reference
It-
something there, but not.
Jane, I think the way the link was sent out, it requires a Dropbox account.
Yes.
And if you don't have Dropbox, um, people today are very hesitant to
Yeah.
sign up for something new. I
Okay.
am,
I
and I
should
work
have
in that world.
consulted Vaughn earlier. But Vaughn was busy being on leading a mission trip to Cuba last week or the week before. And so, my technology problems were not your first priority. Yeah. So I think the thing about deacons that's most important to understand is, why does the church have deacons? And there's a lot of stuff that deacons do. Liturgically, we have a standardized role in every service in the prayer book. So there's a lot that we do liturgically. There's a lot that we do in terms of hands-on ministry with the servant ministry with people in the world. There's a whole lot that we do, but I think primarily deacons are a symbol. Deacons, in the church I'm going to now, we process in. Do you process in, Vaughn, where you are?
No.
Okay. Well, I think to myself, what gives me the authority to process in is that I have a commitment to people in the margins, and that's a symbol, that this is what the church is about, in addition to all this other stuff. So I always think that I think if you listen to that sermon thing, you heard me talk about keeping my hands dirty. And I think that deacons are people who come from with authority from the places of suffering and the margins in the world. And that's what makes us qualified, if you will, to be deacons, to be that symbol of servanthood for the church. So some of what deacons do elsewise, are to serve the poor, the weak, the sick, and the lonely. And that string comes right out of the prayer book, the vows for deacon ordination. So it has to do with one-to-one, or organizationally or whatever, involved in servant ministry. I think another thing that's really important is that deacons are involved in macro policy kinds of stuff too. And I think that the role of the deacon, an important role for me, one of the most important things that I do in the church is preaching. Preaching a diaconal message that that includes the mobilization, the sending out of the church to be God, Jesus's hands and feet in the world. And some of that, deacons are, it's a lot of symbolism there, but there's also this real opportunity for deacons in the pulpit to be talking about restoring the kingdom. So that it's not about coming to church, it's about leaving church. So I have this PowerPoint presentation that is now 5 years old, although I think it's, probably had reincarnations since then, right, Vaughn? So let's look at that. Now, do I have to do something, Vaughn? I have to say,
You're going to go back to share, and then pick your PowerPoint.
Is that it?
Share, pick your PowerPoint, and then make it run, unless it's already running.
Okay, so I see it. Oh, then I have to click share. Yes? Is it there?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a PowerPoint that I created about 5 years ago when I was the archdeacon, and this had to do with just kind of giving the basics about deacons. So ultimately in this session tonight, I want to put some stuff out there, and then I want to hear your questions. I want to know, so what do you not know, or what do you want to understand more about deacons? So let's just go through this PowerPoint. And I do this. Okay. So this tells us the bullet points about the Sacred Order of Deacons. Ordained ministers, about sending the church out to do God's work in the world. We're a full and equal order, but distinct from bishops and priests and laity. The deacons are actually the oldest order in the church, established in the early church, and the record of that is in Acts 6, when Stephen and the 7 were chosen. It's evolved over the centuries. The order of deacons has been different things over the years. And along the way, one of the things that the order of deacons has been is step one to being ordained a priest. So you know that anyone who's ordained a priest has been ordained a deacon first, even though, it's questionable whether they have the call to be a deacon or not. It's just what you got to do, right? So it's evolved over time. When I was young, the first deacon, young is a relative term. So let's say when I was 30, the first deacon that I knew was a man who was kind of like an associate clergy in his own congregation, who had been selected or tapped by that congregation and that priest to become that parish's assistant clergy. And so it didn't have the same kind of emphasis that I'm talking about having a special role of sending the church out to do God's work in the world. So if you were to look at the service of ordination of deacons in the 1928 prayer book, it would look a lot different than in the 1979 prayer book. It says Vaughn wants remote control of my screen. Sure.
Go ahead and say, okay.
Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay. So along with the diaconate in its current iteration was revived in the late 20th century. And I think that there is, the vision for deacons and how deacons have evolved, say, let's say from 1980 on, connects to the Book of Common Prayer, the new Book of Common Prayer that was new in 1979. Okay. I do this. Oh. Okay. Deacons are ordained for the whole church. So remember I told you about my first deacon that I knew, who was connected to an individual parish. That's not the model anymore. So when people are ordained, to the diaconate, they go from belonging to a parish to belonging to the whole church, belonging to the bishop. And so many times people hope and want, I wish I could just stay in my own parish and be a deacon there. And generally that's not going to happen, because deacons are, like priests and bishops, when you become that ordained agent of the church, you belong to the church. You don't belong to any congregation, even though the bishop, we serve directly under the bishop, and the bishop will assign deacons to serve in a particular parish for a limited amount of time. So the way it works in our diocese is that, you know, there are deacons, and the bishop decides, the archdeacon implements the assignment of deacons to various parishes. And they are assigned under a written agreement. And in a congregation, deacons minister with priests. And what would you say, Vaughn? Would you say that you report to the priest? You know, that
No, I wouldn't say that it's a reporting. At least it shouldn't be. It's more of a the priest is there in a supervisory role. Um, and uh, you work together. I mean, it's
yeah,
sort
it's a
of
partnership.
it's a collegial relationship.
Yeah,
But you work for the bishop.
you work for the bishop, and the priest supervises you in the parish.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, and this often comes up in the world of deacons. And I think it's worth mentioning. A lot of priests who want a deacon in their parish are really looking for an assistant,
Mm-hmm.
and that is not your role. That's really not your primary role.
Yeah,
Your role is to be a deacon, not an assistant priest.
right.
Now, there's I think a lot of overlap there, but I do think it's something to remember.
Yeah. Because our ordination is different, we're ordained to an outward focus, and priests are generally ordained to an inward focus with regard to the church. Deacons are not paid. So aspiring to a career as a deacon, or, you know, to a lifelong commitment as a deacon, is different from a priest, in the sense that the priesthood is generally a reimbursable, you know, is a commodity that has you can make a living at. And deacons, you know, give their time and commitment and obedience to the church without monetary compensation. So I think this is really important for people who are thinking, oh, do I want to be a priest? Do I want to be a deacon? In that sense, these are two different things. Okay, one is to be, you know, a volunteer fireman, and the other is to be, you know, the paid fire chief. I don't know if that was a good analogy or not. Generally, when assigned to a parish, a deacon serves about 6 to 10 hours a week, which includes Sunday and includes sermon preparation. So that's the commitment. And oftentimes in a congregation, you know, the priest might, and the congregation might want more, you know, but, you know, you ought to be here one day during the week, and you're going to, you know, we'll need you on these evenings and so on. And it's very clear in our contracts, in our written agreement, that our obligation is to serve a parish from 6 to 10 hours a week, which includes Sundays. Okay, I really like this image, so I'll read it for you, okay? The church is a spiritual body, and spirit means breath. The church breathes in and breathes out. The in-breath draws the people together for prayer, worship, pastoral support, spiritual companionship, And the out breath sends us out into the world to do the work God has given us to do, acts of mercy and advocacy for justice. Priests are ordained to lead the in-breath, and deacons are ordained to lead the out-breath. To be healthy, we need both. I just think those are very wise words by Bishop Don Edwards. Okay, so we've talked about the deacon's call is focused outwards to extend Christ's influence and Christ's love in the community. So what the leadership that deacons are providing within a congregation and within the whole church is to send people to live their faith beyond their worship, to focus on mission to the poor, the weak, the sick, and the lonely, to live out their baptismal promises, to join with the wider community, to identify and address needs, to advocate for justice, to imitate Christ. So those are the things that that's leadership we're ordained to provide. These are some of the phrases from the deacon's ordination service. Okay, so is this helping you to get the flavor?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so then there is the whole business of the deacons in the liturgy. So all this talk about being outward focused and being out in the world, deacons very clearly have a place inside the church too. So, we come on Sunday for our nourishment. We come on Sunday to be the symbol of Christ's servant ministry. And the design of the liturgical acts of the deacon have to do with reflected, the deacon's ministry is reflected in the liturgical acts. And so one of our primary responsibilities is proclaiming the gospel. And remember, I talked about symbols. I think this is a great symbol. When the deacon proclaims the gospel, we go to the lowest ground level of the church. The gospel is read from the ground, not from an elevated place. And I think that's a really important symbol. The deacon sort of stands at the boundary between the church and the world. And in the liturgy, I think our symbolic place is outside at the boundary between the congregation and the altar. And so one of the deacon's roles is bidding the confession. So, we all come to church with our sin to confess our sin. And the deacon says, come in, let us confess our sin. In anticipation of when we will go to the altar to be prepared. The deacon is responsible for facilitating the prayers of the people. That doesn't mean that we lead them all the time, but we have our finger on the pulse of the prayers of the people. So we might be assuring that that this week the prayers of the people include the victims of a wildfire that's happening, or victims of a war, or something that's happening in the community. So the deacons have a responsibility for input into the prayers of the people. We have the servant role of setting and clearing the table. And then I think our most distinct role is as dismisser. So at the end of the service, the deacon will send the congregation out. And I don't know. Vaughn, what do you think is the most important?
I completely agree with you. I mean, the the most the most visible part, the most dramatic part is the reading of the gospel,
Mhm.
and I love to do that every Sunday.
Yeah.
But the dismissal, I think, is the most important part because it is how the church can bring the kingdom of God to the world, to making it be so by our acts of being servants, reaching out to the poor, the lonely, the widow, the prisoner, the disenfranchised. It's
Mhm.
our going out into the world to make the kingdom of God uh, a reality.
And
And
when you say our, you don't mean the deacons,
no, I mean the entire congregation.
the church, right?
But the
Yeah.
deacons dismiss, the last thing we say is either go in peace to love and serve the Lord
Mhm.
is one of the most common dismissals. But there's a lot being said there,
Mhm.
sending the congregation out uh, to do and act.
Mhm.
It's so I think that is the most important part.
Yeah.
It,
Um,
it's
and
almost a commission, a weekly commission that we give to the
yeah.
congregation.
And the dismissal is often given at the door. In the congregation where I'm sort of serving right now, um, when we have the recessional where we're recessing out of the church in the final hymn, the deacon goes right to the back door that is open. You can see the street, and the deacon faces out the door and gives that dismissal. It's really very powerful. It's about going out. Okay. Um, so some myths about deacons. There's a myth that, people who are deacons really want to be priests, but, they didn't make the grade or they didn't do the things or, whatever. The reality is that deacons want to be deacons. So the myth is that deacons are about serving the church, about doing things for the church. The reality is that deacons are about the church serving the world. So we're not a hired hand to run the Bible study or train the acolytes. Although, Vaughn, I'm sure both of us have done all those things, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But our role is about the church serving the world. I was in speaking to a congregation one Sunday morning. They had asked me to come to talk about deacons, and in the question and answer, some gentleman stood up and said, "Well, we're so excited that we could have a deacon to come and help us in our parish." And I said, "Well, what the deacon will do is to help you leave your parish." Because that's what the deal is. And so another myth is that deacons are about charity. I think there's a lot of um, stereotype about church work being charity stuff, but deacons are just as importantly about justice and about systems change. So yes, we're about feeding people, but we're also about asking why in a rich resourced country there are hungry people to begin with. Um, Another myth. Oh, so I think this is important. If the church uses the word diaconate as though that word was about the gaggle of deacons. Okay. I was ordained to the diaconate. We just use that as a collective word term for deacons. The diaconate is really about the whole church. The diaconate is the going out. And so, we're not promoting deacons, we're promoting the going out of the whole church. And so I just think that's important that the diaconate, that word is about the whole church. So these are old names in old, look at that. None of those bishops are even here. None of those archdeacons are serving any longer. So, but you get the idea that in our diocese, the archdeacon serves, is appointed by the bishop to give some oversight and pastoral care to ordained deacons and also to deacons in formation. So it's deacons who run the deacon formation program in the diocese. Would you say that's true, Vaughn?
Yep, yep, absolutely.
Okay. So if you were to go on the website for the Diocese of Maryland, somewhere in the recesses of the deacon page, you'll find you can get a link for this manual for the diaconate, which is maybe about 40 or 50 pages. It's all the steps, all the requirements, all the, forms about deployment and forms about congregations, requesting deacons, and, it's just all kinds of stuff that has to do with wrong usage of the word, the diaconate. Okay. Yeah, so this is some of the contents there. So this is the best slide. That's a gaggle of deacons. And I just love that photo. So some deacons ministries, these are just examples. So yes, deacons serve in the liturgy. Yes, deacons mobilize and deploy and commission and encourage people to go out and imitate Christ in their lives outside the church. But deacons also have lots of jobs that, that are our ministry. And so I don't know if you've ever heard of the reading camps in the diocese. Those were begun by deacons and run by deacons. These are just examples of some of, some actual ministries of actual deacons. And so you want to know what a deacon does? Ask a deacon. What you doing? What's your role in the diocese? In addition to role in the parish, deacons often serve in the diocese in different capacities by appointment from the bishop. And sometimes they have to do with church business, like Vaughn was a member of the diocesan council, which is certainly an internal thing. But many times it has to do with the outward ministry of the church. So for example, deacons involved with the Maryland Advocacy Network, providing leadership in lobbying in Annapolis.
Mhm.
And, so all different kinds of things that deacons might be caught doing. And I love this slide because it's a picture of that open door. Send us out to do the work we've given us to do, or you've given us to do. Okay, so look, we survived that. All right, now I want to get rid of that, Vaughn, so I'll say stop share.
Okay.
Oh, it's magic. Okay, so I want to take a breather here. And I want to know, what you all would like to learn tonight. What do you want to know?
I guess I'll start. Yeah, thanks once again for setting this up and taking your time
Yeah,
have this meeting. Certainly
believe
appreciate
me,
it.
it's my pleasure.
Great. So I think I'm still kind of hung up, being in a rural parish. What kind of things would a deacon do in a rural versus a city or urban parish? I'm just trying to grasp some of those things.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess the question I would ask Matt is, what are the needs in that rural area that the church that you know of that the church could be fulfilling to help bring God's kingdom to fruition? Um, and I don't think that those things you might identify are not necessarily things that you would have to do, but I think it would be things that you could teach, enable, lead, or encourage those in the congregation to do. There's a misconception that these are all things that the deacon does, and um,
Mhm.
a real example in my life was in the middle or the beginning of COVID, at Church on the Square. We started a feeding program with seniors because they were isolated and locked up. And then it actually developed to seniors and the Latino community. And we started this pretty comprehensive food delivery program. It wasn't just a food pantry, but we were delivering food uh, because of the logistics. Well, in about a year into this, all of a sudden, I required open heart surgery. And I was out for about 4 months. And was when I was finally able to, or allowed to drive and walk and feed myself, I went back to the food pantry and they said, "You're just getting in the way. Get out of here. We've got this now." And I was elated. It worked the way it should have worked. It required open heart surgery, but they took over it, and I
Mhm.
had nothing more to do with it. Whenever I showed up to do the paperwork or sign off on things, they would just say, "Well, okay, leave now. Just leave." And I loved it.
Yeah. So Matt, another thing that I would mention is that, um, sometimes deacons have an association with the outreach committee in a parish. And so that doesn't mean that the deacons need to plan things, but I think that deacons need to assemble people to ask the question, what does the community need? Um, is to remind people that the church is about going out and to get people thinking in those terms and brainstorming in those terms and figuring out how we're going to do it. So providing leadership with regard to that outward focus. And another thing that I said before, and I think is really important, is the role of preaching. To be able to talk about justice issues, to be able to help people relate the gospel to the world, to the challenges of the world.
Uh, Thanks. Is it possible that I know the congregation may request a deacon, but is it possible that the bishop would just supply a deacon where she may
No, no,
find a
you
need?
have
No,
to request. You
you have to
have to
request.
request. There's
Okay.
paperwork to be filled out, and you won't even
Of
be
course.
considered unless you request.
Okay.
Well, the other thing that, it wasn't always that way. And, I have some firsthand experience with that, but, um, an important thing in that filling out the paperwork or making the request is the bishop wants to hear that this parish wants a deacon in order for the parish to grow diaconally. Not we want a deacon because we need another clergy person in our orbit. And so this request that they need to fill out is essentially making the case that the congregation wants a deacon for a deacon's role. Okay.
Okay.
Is that
Thank
good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
You know, Matt, I've heard you a couple times say, I want to know what kind of projects the deacons do. And I kind of tucked that in the back of my head to be able to say to you, I don't think that that's exactly the paradigm of doing projects.
Yeah, I think I may have it wrong. So it's taken a while to take this all in, but I think I understand a little better now.
Yeah, okay. What else do somebody
I
want
think-
to know?
I
Oh,
think Vicky
Vicky.
has a question.
Vicky's got her hand up, and so does Jeff. Vicky.
Unmute. Thanks. I have a few questions, but I don't mean to take up too much time. So I'll just ask a couple. I guess the first is with the rotation to different congregations. I mean, how long typically does a deacon stay at one congregation before the bishop rotates them to another one? That's my first question. The second question is, I mean, how frequently is the preaching, and what kind of training is there for delivering homilies and sermons? I guess that would come like in the formation part of the discernment process.
Yeah, you'll start
But
doing that in DOV.
okay. Mhm.
So Vaughn, would you answer the question, her first one about how often they change? Because
So, the standard, and it's just, the standard is 3 years.
Oh,
Now that might change, or, it's really up to the bishop. Um, I was just recently told that I will be leaving my current assignment. Now, I was
oh,
sent there on a 1 year assignment. I was
oh,
told emphatically, you're only going to be here 1 year.
I think I was part of sending you there, Vaughn.
Yes, and that was 7 years ago. Uh,
oh,
so uh, it it really depends on on the bishop. I think that now you're always consulted. Um,
Mhm.
I think there's no hard fast rule, but typically your assignments are going to be the bishop, and the bishop's office will try to make it so it's within. I mean, I've heard that the term 30 to 40 miles or 30 to 40 minutes from where you live. I know that Jane had an assignment not too long ago that was
An
much
hour.
further, much an hour away
Yeah.
from where she lived. But that was a special circumstance, and Jane was willing to do it. Um, uh, but it's typically the standard is 3 years.
Mhm.
Um,
And, some of it depends on if the deacon is involved in something that the deacon needs to stay there to be involved in, I need one more year here, Bishop. Um,
yeah,
or, it might be, this was not a good idea, so we'll just only make it 1 year.
and then the contract that we have between the parish and the deacon and the bishop's office for preaching um, is at least once a month.
oh,
Um, uh, but also don't let the priest abuse you you know, on that either. At least once a month doesn't mean 3 times a month or or 2 times a month.
Yeah. So again, that's kind of a standard.
Yeah.
Okay, Vicky, did that answer your,
yes. Thank you. I have another question, but I'll wait until later if you have
okay,
more time.
Jeff?
So, I was just kind of wondering, how are deacons finding time in the diocese? Like, in the diocese, how are deacons finding time to devote 6 to 10 hours for congregational ministry plus the other ministries on top of their paying jobs?
So
Well,
I don't watch a lot of television. That's
you don't want what?
I don't watch a lot of television.
Oh,
That's my answer.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, for me, it's just part of my life.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, in my case, my career was, working as a social worker in marginalized communities. And so, that was my diaconal ministry. Um, so I was really getting paid to do that wasn't the 6 to 10 hours, but, um, so there's one way of looking at, people who come to the diaconate, might come from, education or nursing or counseling or, things where they, they're living their commitment to, disenfranchised people in the course of their life. Um, so I think, you didn't get to see the video that, where I was, in this interview being asked about, um, I think it was, how does this impact your family? Does it impact your family? And, I talked about how, um, yes, that the hours, the time and the focus that have given to being a deacon in the church is something that I have chosen. My family has, granted me the ability, supported me in the ability to do that. But I also said, I don't golf and I don't go on world travels. This is what I've chosen to do with my discretionary time. I don't know if that answers your question or not, Jeff.
No, it definitely does. And if I'm understanding correctly, you do feel like you were living out your calling through your paid profession and then doing the 16 hours in addition to that.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So I've always worked full time. My paid career, full-time employment. Um, and I often was only a deacon on Sunday morning in the parish. I don't want to say I was only a deacon because I think I was a deacon 24/7, but, my involvement in the parish, and this is the parish where Vaughn and I met, um, at Church of the Guardian Angel in the city. But I couldn't be involved in the ministries that they had going on during the week because I was out working. So what I was,
I will say she was there on Thursday nights for meetings. She was there on Saturday mornings for an event,
yeah,
and she was doing preparation for sermons because she always gave a great sermon, and maybe she pulled it out of her head on Sunday morning, but
no. Um, but anyway, I think for me, I chose the life. And, that was it. So I don't know if is that an explanation enough,
Yep,
Jeff?
yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, Elizabeth?
Thank you, Jane and Vaughn. Um, could you explain a little bit about why deacons aren't remunerated for their work?
Why they are what?
Not paid for their work? Is that a long-standing tradition? Is that something that came about when things were reformed with the new prayer book, or that new sense of how things were moving?
I don't know. I was ordained in 1989 and I did not have any experience with deacons or any knowledge of deacons being paid. But I don't know in iterations that came before me. I can't imagine, my friend Deacon David from, 1970, that he was a paid I know he was a volunteer in his parish.
It just
Um,
seems to me like the way you describe it, what church wouldn't apply for a deacon? What church wouldn't want to have someone to send the people out who had a special connection to the suffering or the pain of the world? Um, I know my particular parish is in desperate need of an assistant priest.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it just seems like sometimes maybe in the working out of things, the lines are blurred, maybe not intentionally, but just from the way it works.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Just in my experience and, um, talking to priests who, or even congregations, members of congregations who want a priest or an assistant priest or what they believe they want a deacon for. What they want them for is to do pastoral care, to do visitations to the sick and the elderly, which deacons also do, which I do. But what they want is something that's to serve the congregation internally, to meet the needs of the congregation. The deacon's mission should be focused externally on the world and what the congregation can do for the world.
Mhm.
What churches really are, if you ask people, why do you think we need an assistant? Well, to help out with preaching, or to help out with teaching Sunday school, or to help out with visiting people in the hospital or at home. Um, Ask people, why do you think we need an assistant? And it's not necessarily diaconal work.
And some of those things, can be defined as diaconal work, visiting the sick, etc. But I think the important thing is knowing that our character has to do with sending us out. Yes, we go out. Yes, we have our own ministries. But our role in the church is to send the congregation nourished out into the world, and then come back. The deacon dance. Who was it talking about the deacon dance? Yeah. Did that do it, Elizabeth?
Yes, thank you.
And I would say, that there's no rule that deacons will never be paid. It's just a whole different paradigm and would have to be, thoughtfully considered and constructed. Another thing is that there's a real freedom in not being paid.
Mhm.
Right, Vaughn? I
Oh,
see you.
oh, absolutely. This is maybe a little deeper than we were intending on getting here, but as a deacon, it's just the job, the mission is one of service. And at least in my mind, service is often equated with charity. Um, as a deacon, we also in the church, not just a particular church, but the church at large, we also serve as a prophetic voice. Um, if we see a wrong in the church, or you know, by intention or by omission that is affecting, um, especially those who are disenfranchised, I think it's my responsibility to point that out, to bring that up. The fact that I don't get paid, I can easily say, I'm going to just speak truth
Yeah,
to what I see, and I don't have to worry about losing my job.
yeah, fire me.
Cut my wages in half. Um,
I
I,
asked because for me, if I wanted to be a deacon, I would have to really cut back what I do at work. I would have to make some serious sacrifices in my work responsibilities Because as it is, I can't give any more hours to my parish than I already do.
Well, you wouldn't be giving those same hours.
Right.
It would be
You'd be
transferred.
you'd be at a parish, you'd be assigned to a parish, right?
Yeah, you bring up a point, we didn't really cover it earlier, but somebody had asked, or did they ask? It usually comes up about leaving your parish. Um, I think it's a good idea that in most cases, deacons have to leave their home parish. I think it's an excellent policy. Bishop Sutton had a, policy that on a case-by-case basis, he might allow a deacon to stay where they were. But at Guardian Angel, where Jane is, referred to, where we were, I was the senior warden there for 10 years. If I got ordained as a deacon and stayed at Guardian Angel, I would still be the senior warden in everyone's mind. Nothing would have changed. So, as far as I'm concerned, it was a good thing to leave. And maybe I'll go back one day, but um, all the you're a leader in your congregation right now, Elizabeth, and I think it's a blessing to the congregation and to the church. Um, those same hours and effort and energy that you put into that is what you would be putting into the diaconate, maybe a little bit more. We don't limit it to 6 to 10 hours a week. That's a good guideline. There's some people I know put a lot more in, and some people who do just what they can. But it's all a blessing to the church and to the world.
And, there's a bit of negotiation in it. So, when I'm assigned to a parish, I don't get paid, so I go in saying, I'm only going to be, my primary presence here is going to be on Sunday mornings. And,
And any expenses that you have with being a deacon, not transportation to church, but if you go to a conference or if you have to go on a hospital visit, if you want to keep track of your mileage, if you have to go to a conference, the church will pay all those costs and expenses for you.
yeah. Other things that, Lindsay, you got anything? I don't know if Lindsay is there. Gotcha.
Did
I
you
just
want to
had
show
one.
the video, Jane?
What's that?
Do you want to show that video?
Yeah, if we can.
Sure.
So,
It's about 8.5 minutes.
yeah, and then there is a discussion thing. So let me put up the discussion thing first, Vaughn,
Okay,
just
sure.
show people what we're going to do. And of course, I'll just do this like, oh, it must be down here somewhere. No, no. Somewhere is that document I had. What did I do with it, Vaughn? You don't know?
Nope.
Okay, it's
The links you sent to us by email?
no, it's a one-page thing and I had it. It's just I don't know how to
Is it a Word document or what
it's
is
a
it?
Word document, yeah.
Well, so you should be able to go into share and then it'll show do you have more than one Word document open?
Share. Okay. Thank you, Vaughn. That was just what I needed.
Okay.
Okay. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a video that both Vaughn and I were involved in creating. And it's making the point that the being a deacon is about one's whole life. It's not about what you do on Sunday. And I think it demonstrates the call and character of deacons and talks and demonstrates some of the possible roles that deacons might fulfill. So you're about to meet Deacon Bonnie, and she's a pip. It's Deacon Bonnie is played by a deacon, Joan Kelly, who happened to have passed away very soon after this video was made. Anyway, watch the video, and as you watch, observe the deacon's role, manner, and effect on others. And then when we come back, we're going to look at these questions together, okay? Okay, Vaughn, roll it. Chapter of the Acts of the Apostles makes clear the role of deacons in the life of the newborn church. In those days, the apostles, full of the Spirit, were on fire with the call of Jesus to build the kingdom of God. But how were they to do that when the practical needs of suffering people, illness, poverty, exploitation, were distracting their creation of a community of joy and mutual support? Their solution was to invite wise, spirit-filled followers who saw clearly that Jesus expected the church to confront injustice and serve the deepest and most immediate needs of the world. So the apostles ordained the first deacons. Fast forward 2,000 years, and the ordaining of deacons continues to be central to the life of a faithful church. What we know about deacons is often limited to their role in the Sunday liturgy, reading the gospel, setting the table, giving the dismissal to send every Christian into the world to faithfully imitate Christ. But the deacon's role goes well beyond Sunday. Guided by the charges given at ordination, the deacon draws the church out to heal the broken world.
Pete, you're gonna be home by 6:30, right?
Don't worry, Mom, I'll be here.
All right, because I have a meeting at church and I have to work the overnight shift. Dad, time to go. Here you go, Lily. Make it a good day at school, okay? And I'll meet you at the bus stop. Have a good day. Oh, we're gonna bring the casserole over to Miss Bennett at the end of the day. So make it a good day, okay? I love you. Bye. Good morning, Helen. This is Deacon Bonnie. I got your email about planning meeting this evening. I'll be there. I think it's a really great idea that you have about changing the old rectory into an Oxford house. You're doing a great job getting a bunch of people together to do this. It's gonna be a lot of hard work. I'll be praying for you. You know that God and I have your back. Mother Julie. Yes, I will be preaching on Sunday. No, I can't do the noon service on Wednesday. Actually, I just pulled up to church when you called. I'm gonna be meeting with Joe to fill the communion kits. And he and I are gonna go about 11:30 over to the hospital to do some visits. Oh, Mother Julie, I have to go. I just saw Ronald and I need to talk to him. I'll call you back later. Bye. Morning, Ronald. I brought these for you. Thought you might like them. I found these clothes out by the dumpster. I thought they might be yours. I brought them in and washed them. I hope you don't mind. If you like, we could make an arrangement, and if you leave the clothes there, I'll take them in and wash them for you. You know, we really value you being here. You're important to us. By the way, I got new cards. Here, I'll leave it over here. Remember, it's just for an emergency. But throw away the old one, okay? Because I got a new number. It was good to see you. I'm keeping you in my prayers. I hope I'm in yours too. Have a good day.
Morning, Joe.
Good morning, Mother Julie. Excuse me a minute, Joe. When we were talking this morning, I didn't have the opportunity to ask you about Bob Brown from the Lutheran Church called and asked whether or not we could do a joint blood drive in March. So I wanted to bring that up to the outreach committee.
That would be another thing right in the middle of Lent. What I was really hoping is that you would lead a Bible study on the book of Job during Lent on Wednesday nights.
That isn't gonna work for me. I can't do Wednesdays because I'm already doing the ecumenical immigrants peace vigils, and they're gonna be on Wednesday night. So I can't, I'm sorry. Today, we're gonna visit Mr. Sims. He knows that we're coming. And I'm going to go through the whole process, and I just want you to keep a close eye on me. And then, once we're finished and out of this room, then if you have any questions, you can ask me about it, okay? Wait a minute. It's the hospital calling. Go ahead, and I'll meet you in there. Hello? Ronald? Ronald, what's the matter? Oh my goodness, are you okay? Did anyone else get hurt? The police let you call. Calm down, Ronald, calm down. Okay, I'm in the hospital, well, heading into the hospital right now, and I'll tell you what, I'm gonna finish up here in about a half hour. I'll come down, we'll say some prayers, I can bring you lunch. Just keep calm, Ronald.
Hello, Caroline. The bishop hopes you can represent him at the Interfaith Refugee Council. Their next meeting is Thursday, so I don't know if you're going to be available, but it's at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Oh, that's great. I'll go ahead and send you an email with all the details. Thank you. Take care, Bonnie. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
It's our voices, guys. What do you mean no homework?
In my bag.
Sorry.
Oh, really? You don't really have to go, Grandma. You're not really a parent.
Oh, parents' night's very important. Either your dad or I will go. Just give me a minute, okay? Get your seatbelts on, be quiet for a minute. Let me make a phone call, okay? Hey, Helen, it's Deacon Bonnie. I'm sorry, I won't be able to make the meeting tonight. Unfortunately, it's the kids' parents' night, and I didn't know it. So either my son or I'll have to go. I'll be praying for you. You know, God and I got your back. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. We're gonna get the casserole and bring it over to Miss Bennett. She should be home with the new baby by now. So hopefully we'll get to see the new baby.
Yay!
Oh, but first I have to stop by church. Mr. Ronald was having a bad day, and I need to stop by church just to make sure that everything's okay.
The deacon's role goes well beyond Sunday. Guided by the charges given at ordination, the deacon draws the church out to heal the broken world.
Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.
Okay. Okay, you want to stop it, Vaughn? Thanks. Vaughn, it seems to have lost some of its audio, but that's not a problem for
Oh,
tonight.
okay.
Maybe one track of it or something like that. Okay, here we are with our questions. So that was Deacon Bonnie. Okay, deacon's role is to lead the congregation individually and collectively to bring Christ's love from the church to the outside world. How does Deacon Bonnie fulfill that role? What do you say, guys?
Well, I think she was just organizing people to do things and asking them to do it, and said that she would pray for them, but maybe didn't actually do a lot of those things. Motivate people, maybe.
Okay. Anything else?
Of course, sending people out at the end of the service also.
Mm-hmm. So she had that special connection to the bishop's office. So that was Caroline, the bishop's secretary, who was calling her to ask her to do some representation for the diocese.
No one was a stranger to Bonnie. She couldn't ignore need when she saw it.
Mm-hmm. She was modeling servanthood for her grandchildren. Okay. What do you surmise about Deacon Bonnie's character? How's that character expressed across her interaction with various people?
I think she's a go-getter. Yeah, big helper, gets things done. Busy.
Yeah, I thought she was like a project manager type, well organized, good with time management, assertive enough, and kind of was not afraid to say no when she needed to say no, because she has so many things going on. So yeah, definitely not like a wallflower type person.
Yeah.
She seemed very patient with Ronald during that first scene where he wasn't even responding to her. And persistent too.
Mm-hmm. So that was a perspective that she brought of perceiving Ronald to be of value to the parish. So I think that deacons have a special responsibility of helping the congregation to see the world outside their door and the need that is right outside their door. Anything else about Bonnie's character? Imitates Christ?
Well, with Ronald, that's certainly, I think, what's being communicated in the piece.
Mm-hmm. What can we tell about Mother Julie's expectation of the deacon's role, and how does Bonnie's and Mother Julie's expectations differ? Obviously, Mother Julie's a priest in her parish.
She wanted her to lead the Bible study, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
She was seeing the deacon more as an assistant priest then. Which she's not.
Okay.
Yeah, Bonnie had a very firm idea of what she was about, and like Vicky said, was able to be assertive when she needed to be. Yeah.
Mhm. What effect do you think Deacon Bonnie has on her congregation?
I feel like they probably really value her. She's kind of that connective, that glue that keeps everyone stuck together, and an organizer type. I would imagine they really value her and appreciate her.
Mhm.
Yep, I'd say the same.
How's the deacon's role similar to the priest's, and how is it different?
Well, she's kind of outwardly working as opposed to inward, like we talked about. Right.
Mhm.
It looks like she wears the clerical collar when she goes out. Jane, you don't wear that on Saturday, do you, when we see you?
No, but I'll wear it next time.
Do you usually wear it when you go out and about?
I wear the collar mostly having to do with church business.
Okay.
And very rarely for something that is not church business, and that's just me. Vaughn, you might have a different answer to that.
I I I wear the collar at church on Sunday in a setting where I'm representing the church, in meetings, either ecumenical or with community groups and such, if I'm there representing the church or a group. But also I work at a Lutheran church, and there I don't serve there as a deacon unless I'm needed for a service or to teach or something. I'm an IT professional, is my job there, but I do have a shirt and collar on my coat rack for when it's needed, sometimes at work. Um, but um, if I'm not performing an act as a deacon, I'm probably not going to be wearing a collar every day. Uh, I, I I don't object when people do. I think it's also um, an opportunity to witness to the world. Um, but that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
Because most people that saw her out and about really couldn't make a distinction between priest and deacon unless it was spoken about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Bonnie put on her collar because she was going to hospital visits.
Yeah. And you often get free parking when you.
Okay, that's how you get
Gotcha.
that's the remuneration there. Okay, so quickly, the video points to the charge given to deacons at ordination. How do we fulfill, see Bonnie fulfilling each of these? And we don't have to, go through this whole exercise, but you see on the left are things that are drawn right out of the prayer book. And by the way, I would suggest or urge everyone to look at those vows and to get inside that ordination service and see what you're promising. Okay. Any questions about this?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more general, but I've heard now multiple times, not only tonight, that priests frequently have the wrong idea about the deacon's role. I mean, is there kind of more, I don't know, is there like a church-wide effort to try to, um, educate priests a little bit more, to prevent any misunderstandings when deacons rotate to a congregation or something?
Well, for one thing, I think that a deacon will learn that they're going to be teaching the church about deacons forever. That's part of my job is to remind the church that deacons' focus is to bring the church, to send the church out into the outward world. And you just never stop teaching that, articulating that, and repeating it. Vaughn, how would you answer that question?
It comes back to the question that Elizabeth posed about, why don't deacon gets paid, and and is that going to change, or what's the historical background behind it, and why deacons do what they do for nothing. I think for the same reason, priests who get paid are doing a job that may, in some cases, seem thankless, or they're worn out, they're tired, they need help, and they're looking for help wherever they can get it. I'm not blaming priests for wanting help. I just want, to make it clear that it's a different mission, it's a different priority. But I think the opportunity to be able to bring that up over and over helps say to the church, to the congregations, to the people, this is what, I'm here to help you meet the needs that the world has. And just as a reminder over and over, I know that at one church, 2 years in a row at the annual meeting, uh, I don't know, the question came up, there's always budgets and stuff. And well, and how much does Vaughn make? Well, Vaughn doesn't make anything. And there was, some people who were very pleased about that and some people who were shocked. But um, the question that came up created an opportunity to talk about the church's responsibility to meet the needs of the world. So um, the education is ongoing constantly. I mean, people have heard it. The priests know, at least I hope they do, but the congregations need the education just as much. And I look at it as an opportunity, not as a problem.
Yeah, I think that, it has to do with the fact that the church is an institution, and part of its function is its own survival, its own life as an entity. And over time, for better or worse, we have come to value the things that are inside the church, and to value the role, particularly the sacramental role of priests. And I think the church forgets that there's something to be concerned about besides, the roof is leaking and, we need new vestments or whatever. Deacons are not concerned about that stuff. And
Does it ever happen that someone who's a permanent deacon becomes a priest? I mean, it's clear that these are two different vocations, but obviously we're all here because we're envisioning multiple, we're trying to envision what fits us best. And I can see some of us being called to both, or not being sure, or I know it's not an audition or a test, but does that Is that something that happens ever?
Yes,
Occasionally.
yeah.
Um,
And I think, and part of the confusion is that because of tradition, everybody who is in the priestly route, on that schedule, is first ordained as a deacon. Now, we use the word transitional deacon, but a lot of people who are sitting in the congregation don't know or don't hear, or I've heard many times, oh, well, when are you going to become a priest? Or
all the time.
or how long until, like, you're on track.
Mhm,
And I've had that one discussion many times.
mhm.
Uh, but I do know of deacons who, um, the ones that I know w- were not through, I mean, I don't know if it was their own call, but
Right.
it was the bishop who called them and said, "Hey, what do you think? Uh, I see something in you that is a possibility."
Yeah.
And uh, and that's a big step. But it does happen, but not all the time.
Yeah. I've, seen multiple examples of what I think is the bishop decides that he or she needs this person to be a priest and urges that to happen. I I can't think of many that the deacon feels a new call to become a priest. So, but it can happen.
It sounds like the priesthood is a lot longer track also, right? I mean,
Not
diaconate
necessarily.
not I mean, diaconate wouldn't include MDiv or going back to seminary necessarily, right? Like the priesthood track would.
It's a different track, but the time involved is very similar.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's a formation program that lasts somewhere between 2 and 5 years, depending on the speed of, with which the person goes through it. And I think there's it's a kind of a different matter. I think of the MDiv and this going to seminary as a scholarly pursuit. Preparing to be a deacon is not a scholarly pursuit. It's about uh, understanding involvement, plugging into social justice issues. It's about, both of them have a pastoral care element to them. Um, I I think that the word scholarly goes with priests and doesn't go with deacons. Vaughn, what do you think of that?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Mhm. We're action people. Yeah. Lindsay, what do you have to say or ask?
I'm just listening. Um, I think you're differentiating that, the priest and the deacon role really well. I mean, it's very clear to understand.
Good. And there's it's a very complementary relationship. This is one thing I haven't mentioned, but in all the parishes that I've been in over the years, one ministry that I think that I've had is to be a colleague to the priest, because often priests are lone rangers. They're the only person who, is holding a lot of knowledge and stress and anxiety about, what's going on in the parish. And they get to have a clergy colleague if there's a deacon.
I've heard that numerous times, Jane, from a priest. You know, it's so good to have somebody that I can talk to or somebody I can relate to.
I can share confidences with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, what else? Anything else before we go?
I'm so very grateful. This presentation put some real flesh on what were just kind of like assumptions or unclarity about it. And I can imagine it much better. So thank you both. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thank you guys. Much more clear.
Yeah, but are you much more clear? You know, I mean, that's rhetorical.
Never, never.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, it's, you know, for me, it's really been it is a pleasure talking about deacons and about the diaconate of the whole church. And this is part of teaching the church. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Anyone want to send us out with a prayer? You didn't see that one coming, did you? Yeah.
I can send us out. I can pray for us.
Thank you, Vicki.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to share time tonight in learning about the important position of deacon in the church. Thank you for the leadership of both Jane and Vaughn, and for our entire cohort or many of our cohort to be here to have interest and learn more about bringing your kingdom more fully here on earth. Lord, in your mighty name, thank you for your grace and your mercy, and for this opportunity to learn from Jane and Vaughn. Amen.
Amen.
Thank
you,
you,
Vicki.
Vicki. Okay. We'll see everybody on April 12th.
Okay.
Yes, I hope to be there.
Happy
Yeah.
Annunciation. Okay.
Yes.
Fair winds and following seas, Matt.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So Matt,
Stay safe, Matt.
You'll be back with us in April?
Yes, I should be flying back to Baltimore on the 10th or 11th. So it's going to be close. Fingers crossed.
Very good. So good to see everybody.
Bye-bye.
It's great to see you guys.
Peace.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Peace.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Nice seeing you again, Vaughn. See you in May,
Yes,
right?
Jeff. Yes.
Right. Have a good evening.
Okay. Bye.
Uh,